Okay, last week we looked at creating a form Google, in Google Drive, and so then I said that this week we would go over how to import the results or a score column that you add to a spreadsheet, upload that into Blackboard. And so to import spreadsheet data into the Blackboard gradebook, I recommend that you first try it in a sandbox or a master or some course that you don't want to, or it doesn't matter if you ruin it. But the first thing that you want to do is create your blank column or columns. You can do multiple columns at a time in the Blackboard Grade Center, because when you upload it without it being tied to the weighted total or the total, um, it's complicated to change it because it imports as a text field, and so it's just easier to weight the column, get everything all set up ahead of time, and then if the column is there and the gradebook recognizes that what to do with this data when it imports, it'll go ahead and put it into your weighted column as you have it set up. All right, so here I'm demonstrating a column that I'm not weighting. This is just, they completed this form. I just want to see whether they've done it or not. It doesn't count toward the grade. So I created a column that has one possible point. The primary display is complete or incomplete. It does not count towards the external grade. And so when I go to my spreadsheet, I'm going to have to copy my column from my Google spreadsheet where I've graded this into a spreadsheet that's formatted in the way that Blackboard can read it. And so to get that formatted spreadsheet, I have to go to Work Offline, Download. And I don't want the whole grade center, I just want this one column. And I do want to include comments. All right, I want to do tab. If you use comma, you have to put everything in quotation marks. So I want to use tab, and I download it. And so I've already downloaded it. And all right, when I downloaded it, I didn't have the scores here. And so I went to my Google form, copied them, and pasted them here. One trouble spot is that a couple of people that are disabled in my class didn't do the Google form, and they will still show up on this export even though they're not showing up, even though I have them hidden in my Blackboard gradebook. And so I have to be real careful here to look at the nose, and when I paste my grades from Google into this Excel, to make sure that I skip lines where I have disabled people or people who didn't do it, so that the grades all line up correctly. And then any grading notes I can put in here. And so I can look at my form and see that, okay, so Jason submitted it, and so yes, he gets credit for having submitted it, but he didn't put an answer. And that was because he communicated with me that he's waiting to see what his work schedule is going to be before he can commit to his proctored event time and date. And so I want to make that note in my gradebook that I'm really still waiting on him. And so I put the comment there, and this header row has to be left exactly like that. Don't want to mess with that. Don't want to change any information over here. So all I'm doing is putting in the scores of the columns that I want inputted and any notes. All right, so then I save it as tab. And then go back to my grade book, and under work offline, click upload. Again, it's a tab delimiter that I'm using. Alright, and so it's going to give me a preview. Do I really want this form that has a 1 in it and a bunch of blank lines? If that were the one I really wanted, then I would say yes, but since I don't want to overwrite anything I've already put in there, I'm going to cancel it. Alright, but I had put all 1s and left blank anybody who hadn't completed, and so since I had already set this column up to show complete or incomplete, it converted the 1s into checks. And it wouldn't have mattered what number I put there. I could have put 0s, I could have put 2s. It still would convert any data into a check mark that was in that column. And so anybody that had not completed the assignment, like this Cameron Bentley, didn't do anything, and so I wouldn't want to put a 0. I would just leave it blank to not have a check over here. And then let's see. Jason was the one who was still waiting, and so we had put a text note in the spreadsheet under comments, and that imported under grading notes here. Alright, so I'll show you one more example of one that has actual grades in it. And again, I set the column up prior to doing the import, and then I exported just this column. I exported my JPEG answers, and I put in copied and pasted the scores into this column. First I had sorted it by last name so it would match. Then I put in the scores here. I put in my grading notes here. I uploaded it. And I think that the reason that Paul's score was so high, right, he had gotten some extra credit for doing a little bit of extra work there. And so that was a grading note that I had put in the Excel sheet and it imported. And so this one I had set up to be 100 points possible, and it is included in the calculations. And so when this score went in, then their total average in the class reflects that score, because that's the only score that they have in the class right now. And it's not an average, it's total points. Their total points in the class reflect what's in this column. And again, you can do multiple columns at a time as long as you do the export first or the download first and leave all of these rows. All right, and just fill in your scores. So I had 100. I don't know what was going on with Rita and Karen that day. All right, so that was what the spreadsheet looked like when I did the upload. I saved it as a tab first and got that. I could have done multiple columns at a time. All right, let me know if you have questions.